Look at your coneflowers right now. The petals are fading, drooping back, going papery. The centers, those spiky cones, are turning brown and hard. And you have got a pair of shears in your hand because you have been deadheading these things all summer, and it worked. That is the trap, right there. Because you learned something true earlier in the year, and you are about to apply it 1 month too long. Through June and July, deadheading a coneflower genuinely does push more flowers. Cut the spent bloom, the plant makes another. It works, you saw it work, so of course you keep doing it. But in August, the same cut that gave you more flowers in June starts costing you the best thing this plant makes all year. And most people never find out, because the loss does not look like a loss. It looks like a tidy garden. So that is the mistake, and it has a very specific shape. It is not that people do the wrong thing. It is that they do a right thing for 1 month too many. A good habit, run past its expiry date. Here is what those browning cones actually are. They are not spent flowers to be cleaned up. They are seed heads, and they are two things at once. They are the structure that stands in your garden all winter when everything else has collapsed into brown mush and bare dirt. And they are a bird feeder, specifically a goldfinch feeder, and goldfinches are as devoted to coneflower seed as anything in the garden. Cut them off in August out of tidiness, and you have thrown both of those away. Months before, you would have gotten them. So this video is about knowing exactly when to stop. When the switch flips from cut to leave, how to make that final cut properly, and one thing you need to check on every plant while you are standing there, because August is when a disease with no cure shows itself, and half the people who think they have it actually have something else entirely. But first, you have to understand that a coneflower gives you 2 completely separate harvests, and almost everybody only collects the first one. Here is the idea that changes how you see this plant in August. A coneflower gives you 2 harvests, and they happen at opposite ends of the year. The first harvest is the flowers. That is the one everybody knows, the one you have been enjoying all summer. The purple and pink daisies with the raised centers, full of bees and butterflies. And through the early and middle of summer, deadheading serves that first harvest. You cut a faded bloom, the plant redirects its energy, and you get more flowers. That is real, and it is why you learned the habit. The second harvest is the seed. And this is the one almost nobody collects, because collecting it means doing nothing. It means leaving those spent flowers alone and letting them mature into the dry, spiky seed heads that feed the birds and stand through the winter. You do not harvest the second crop by cutting. You harvest it by walking away. And here is the conflict at the center of this whole video. The 2 harvests want opposite things from you. The first one wants you to cut. The second one wants you to stop. So there has to be a moment, a switchover, where you put the shears down and let the plant transition from making flowers to making seed. Get that moment right, and you get both. A full summer of blooms and then a winter of structure and birds. Get it wrong in either direction, and you lose one of the 2. Most people never make the switch at all. They just keep cutting until the plant stops, and they get 1 harvest out of a plant that was offering them 2. So the whole game is knowing when to flip. Let me show you exactly where that line is. Here is the switch. Stop your final deadheading 4 to 6 weeks before your first frost. That is the line. And notice, it is the same kind of calculation as everything seasonal in the garden. Not a date on the calendar, a subtraction from your own frost date. Here is why that particular window. You want to give the plant enough time after that last cut to do 2 things. Push out its final flush of flowers, and then let those flowers mature into finished seed heads before the cold shuts everything down. 4 to 6 weeks does both. So find your average first frost date, count back a month to 6 weeks, and that is when you make your last cut of the year. After that, the shears are done until spring. For a lot of gardens with a mid-October frost, that lands you right about now, in August. You have still got time for one more round of blooms and a full set of seed heads, but the window is closing, and this is the last call to make a cut that actually helps. Now, the final cut itself, because this is where I am going to change how you do it. Do not treat the plant as one thing and cut it all to the same rule. Walk up to it and read it stem by stem, because a coneflower in August has 4 different things happening on it at once, and each one wants a different decision. Stem 1. A healthy, open flower still in full color. Leave it. That is still feeding bees and butterflies, and there is no reason to touch it. Pollinators first. Stem 2. A bloom that has just faded and is only beginning to form its cone. This is the one you can still cut, and it is your last chance to. Follow that stem down to the first pair of healthy leaves, or to a side bud where you can see new growth starting, and snip just above it. That triggers the plant to branch and push one more flower from that point, which then has time to become a seed head. This is deadheading, doing its proper late-season job. Stem 3. A cone that has already gone fully brown, dry and hard. Leave it. Absolutely leave it. That is a finished seed head, fully loaded, and it is exactly what the birds are coming for and what stands through winter. Cutting that one is cutting the entire point of this video. Stem 4. A stem that is flopping over or sprawling out and smothering the plant next to it. Cut that one harder, sometimes back by half, to open the plant up and get it upright. That is not about flowers or seed, that is structural, and it is the one case where a bigger cut is the right call. So you are not pruning the plant, you are sorting it. 4 piles. Leave the flowers, cut the just faded ones back to a leaf, leave the finished cones, and cut back anything flopping. One tool note. Because coneflower stems will catch you out. They are too thick and tough to pinch off with your fingers the way you can with a softer plant. You need clean, sharp pruners, and you want to wipe them with alcohol between plants, for a reason I am going to come back to shortly, because it matters more on this plant than on almost anything else in your garden. A coneflower in August is not one job. It is 4, and they are standing on the same plant. Quick one, because everything I just told you comes down to a single skill, and it is not really about coneflowers. It is reading a plant and knowing that the same cut is right in one place and wrong in another. Cut the just faded bloom, good. Cut the finished cone, and you have thrown away the whole second harvest. Same shears, same afternoon, opposite outcome, and the only thing separating them is knowing what you are looking at. There is one plant in the garden where that skill matters more than anywhere else, and where getting it wrong is the most common disappointment in gardening. The hydrangea. Because a hydrangea is 6 different plants wearing one name, and each one carries next year's flowers differently. So a careful gardener does the tidy, sensible thing, cuts the plant back at what feels like the right moment, and the following spring it comes up green and healthy and gives them nothing. Not one flower. They cut off next summer with their own hands, and nothing on the plant warned them. So I wrote the honest version down. It is called the Hydrangea Mastery Guide. All 6 types, told apart in 90 seconds, because every hydrangea mistake there is starts right there. The prune by type calendar, so the cut you make is the correct one for the plant in front of you. The real reason the color changes, which is not the pH, whatever you were told. And the 5 myths that waste an entire season. 29 pages, $27, instant PDF, 7-day money-back guarantee, and the link is in the description at waltgreer.com. And it ends the way this channel always ends. With the part nobody selling you something will print. 4 of the 6 types cannot change color at all, no matter what you pour on them. Fertilizer will never fix a hydrangea that will not bloom, because a guide that only tells you what to do is only half a guide. Now, back to those seed heads you are leaving on the plant. because it is worth understanding exactly what you are leaving them for. So you are leaving those brown cones standing. Here is exactly what you are leaving them for, because it is more than most people realize. First, the birds, and specifically the goldfinches. A dried coneflower head is packed with seed, and American goldfinches are as devoted to it as anything in the garden. They will cling to those spiky cones right through fall and winter, working them over methodically, pulling the seeds out one at a time. And they are not alone on it. Chickadees, cardinals, blue jays, and pine siskins all feed on coneflower seed too. And here is the part that makes it matter rather than just being pleasant. Those seeds come due in late fall and winter, exactly when almost every other food source in the garden has run out. So you are not just decorating, you are providing food at the leanest point of the year, at the moment it is hardest for those birds to find anything else. A coneflower head in December is a full plate on an empty table. Second, winter structure. When frost has flattened everything else in the border into brown slime and bare soil, those cones stay standing on their stiff stems. Dark seed heads holding a dusting of snow, catching the low winter light, moving a little in the wind. There is a whole style of planting built around exactly this, the idea that a garden should have structure through the dead months and not just vanish in October. Those coneflower cones are some of the best winter structure you can grow, and they cost you nothing but restraint. Third, free plants. Leave those heads to stand, and some of that seed drops and self-sows around the parent. Coneflowers seed themselves generously, so next spring you find new seedlings coming up nearby, and where you had one plant you gradually get a drift of them. If you want that, leaving the heads is how you get it for free. And here is the one honest caveat, because that same generosity is not what everybody wants. If you have a tidy, controlled bed and you do not want coneflowers seeding themselves all through it, then reseeding is the one real reason to cut the heads instead. So the decision comes down to a simple question. If you want the birds, the winter structure, or more plants, leave the cones standing. If you specifically do not want it self-sowing, that is your reason to cut. Made on purpose either way, rather than out of habit. You are not leaving a dead flower on the plant. You are leaving a bird feeder, a winter sculpture, and next year's seedlings. Now, before you walk away from that plant, there is one thing you need to look at closely. Before you walk away, look closely at the flowers on every plant. Because August is when a coneflower disease with no cure shows itself, and catching it early is the only defense there is. It is called aster yellows. And here is what it looks like, because the symptoms are strange enough that people usually have no idea what they are seeing. The flowers come out wrong. Petals that stay green instead of turning purple or pink. Tufted, brushy growth erupting straight out of the center of the cone, like a little green shaving brush. Deformed secondary flower heads sprouting sideways out of the main flower, a flower growing out of a flower. Twisted, distorted foliage, and stunted, stubby growth. If a coneflower looks like that, like something went wrong at a genetic level and the flower is mutating, that is very likely aster yellows. And now, the hard facts, straight, because there is no soft version. There is no cure. None. It is a systemic infection that lives in the whole plant, in the tissue that moves sugars around, so cutting off the ugly flowers does absolutely nothing. The infection is still in there. And a perennial that catches it generally dies within that first season anyway. So the only response, and I am sorry, is to remove the entire plant, roots and all. Dig it out completely and get it out of the garden, because while it stands there, it is a reservoir. It is a reservoir of the pathogen and the insects that spread it, aster leafhoppers, feed on it, and then carry it to every other coneflower and aster family plant you own. One infected plant left in place is how it moves through the whole bed. Bag it and bin it, or bury it completely, but do not leave it standing, and do not toss it on an open compost pile where the leafhoppers can still reach it. But here is the part that saves plants, and it is the reason I want you looking closely rather than panicking. There is a second problem that looks almost identical, and it is treatable, and people confuse the two constantly. It is called coneflower rosette mite, and it produces tufted, distorted growth on the cones that can look a lot like aster yellows at first glance. But here is how you tell them apart, and it is a clean, reliable distinction. Aster yellows shows up all over the plant, the foliage as well as the flowers, twisted leaves, stunted stems, the whole thing looking wrong. Rosette mite damage is confined to the flower heads only, while the leaves and the rest of the plant look completely normal and healthy. So read the whole plant, not just the cone. Deformed cones on an otherwise healthy plant with good foliage that is very likely mites, and you can treat it by removing the affected flowers and cleaning up. Deformity everywhere, flowers and leaves both, that is aster yellows, and the plant has to come out. Getting that difference right is the difference between snipping off a few bad flowers and digging up a perfectly healthy plant for nothing. One last prevention note. Those aster leafhoppers shelter in weeds, wild carrot, dandelion, thistle, ragweed, which carry the disease without showing it. So keeping the weeds down around your bed is genuine protection, not just tidiness. Read the whole plant, not the flower. One tells you to snip, the other tells you to dig. Beyond the shears, a coneflower asks almost nothing of you in August. But there are a few things worth getting right, and a couple worth deliberately not doing. Do not feed it. This is a prairie plant. It evolved in tough, lean soil, and it genuinely prefers it. Rich feeding does to a coneflower what it does to lavender. It pushes soft, floppy, leggy growth at the expense of sturdy stems and flowers. And a fed coneflower is a coneflower that flops. So skip the fertilizer entirely. Lean and a little hungry is exactly how this plant wants to live. Go easy on the water. An established coneflower is genuinely drought-tolerant once its roots are down, and it is far happier a little dry than sitting wet. In an August heat wave, coneflowers will often wilt in the afternoon and stand right back up overnight, and that afternoon droop is not a distress signal. It is normal. So judge by the morning, not the afternoon, and only water if the plant is still flagging first thing and the soil is genuinely dry 2 inches down. Wet feet do far more damage to this plant than drought ever will. If you want to collect seed for yourself, rather than leaving it all for the birds, August into early fall is when to do it. Wait until a cone is fully brown and dry, snip the whole head into a paper bag, and let it finish drying somewhere with a bit of airflow. You can scatter that seed where you want new plants, or save it. Just leave plenty on the plant for the goldfinches, because they were counting on it. And if a plant is genuinely overgrown, flopping, and tired, make a mental note rather than acting now. The time to lift and divide a coneflower is spring, not the back half of the season. In August, a coneflower wants lean soil, dry feet, and mostly to be left alone. Before we finish, send this to one person you know who is out there right now deadheading their coneflowers down to nothing, thinking they are keeping the garden tidy. Just the link. They are quietly canceling their own bird feeder and their winter garden, and nobody has told them there is a moment to stop. Now here is the whole thing, in one idea. A coneflower gives you 2 harvests, and the mistake almost everybody makes is collecting only the first one. Flowers in summer, and then seed heads in fall and winter, and the two want opposite things from you. So there is a switch, and knowing when to flip it is the entire job. Flip it 4 to 6 weeks before your first frost. That is your last deadheading of the year. Find your frost date, count back a month to 6 weeks, make your final cut, and then put the shears away. And make that last cut by reading the plant, not by rule. Leave the flowers still in color for the pollinators. Cut the just faded blooms back to a pair of leaves for one final flush. Leave every cone that has already gone brown and dry, because that is the whole second harvest. The goldfinches and the winter structure and next year's seedlings, all standing on those stems. While you are in there, read every plant for aster yellows, the green, tufted, deformed flowers. And remember the distinction that saves plants. Deformity all over the plant, foliage and flowers both, is the incurable one, and it comes out roots and all. Deformity on the cones alone with healthy leaves is mites, and you just snip the bad flowers. Then feed it nothing, water it barely, and leave it alone. Do that, and this one plant pays you twice. A summer of flowers and bees, and then a winter of birds and structure when the rest of the garden has gone to bare ground. Deadheading a coneflower is a summer habit. In August, the plant needs you to break it. So subscribe and hit the bell and stick around. We do this the honest way here in the Forgotten Knowledge Library. Real horticulture, exact timing, and we tell you straight, including when the best thing you can do is stop doing the thing that was working. It is free, and it always will be. And drop a comment telling me whether you have got goldfinches on your coneflowers, because once you start leaving those heads up, they will find you. Next time, another plant where the tidy instinct is the one quietly costing you the most. I will see you in the next one.